occasionally what I learned from this show immediately is that I need to cut my nails.
Oh.
When I'm doing the countdown. Also, on a separate note, this is a good thing that we're not in studio, like in the same room.
Like, because your nails are grotesque?
Not, well, something different. I'm super gassy, so you would not be happy doing this episode. It's going down over here. If we had a soundboard with fart noises, we would not need it. Because this is happening.
Blah. Yeah, wifey's out of town.
But that's enough about me.
I mean, we did the Shake Shack Hot Ones collab as our first dinner, or I did. But yeah, that might not work out well. We'll see.
Well, yeah, we'll see how this works. So you on a solo parent mission right now, huh?
Yep. You see how's
it going?
You see how well I'm doing. Killing it.
When you order out immediately, like that means like, all right, white flag first day.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Yeah.
It was yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
I'm with it. Yeah. If it's me, I'm like, all right, what we overing? I'm not even dealing with this. Word up. Yeah. So opening question. We go through this every change of sports season. I have to ask, Kev, are you watching football right now? Have you had a chance to sit down and watch any game whatsoever?
No, I watched about a quarter of the Raiders the other day. But no, I wasn't really even paying attention.
No.
Yeah, not really.
It's funny because I'm not. We've talked about this. I'm not like the biggest football fan ever, right? I've been rooting for it. That's kind of what happens when you root for a team in any sport that's not that great. You know, it had its great moment when I was a child, but hasn't had very many great moments since then. But I get it now. Like, I get the Sunday, the game is on, don't ask me to do anything, the game is on. Like, it is kind of a thing. Like, the older I get, the more I realize that game is like a buffer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be. Not in my house.
After this episode, probably not in my house either. But yeah, kind of like, I can't. Like the game, for whatever reason, it doesn't work with Laker games, which is interesting knowing how big of a basketball fan I am. Like that, it doesn't work at all.
Oh, it's just, well, you could spend half of your life completely disconnected from your family.
That's true. That's true. Football's longer, man. It's like the games are like, I don't know, I think it's like 12 hours. I'm not sure.
Oh, you mean the whole day?
Well, I'm saying, no, I'm talking about a single game. Like, it feels like it lasts forever. It's like, damn, yo. There was a point on Sunday where I was like, damn, I'm still watching this? Like, what happened?
Yeah, no, it's too much. I'll turn on, if I turn on a game and it's halftime, it's done. I'm not watching that game.
You probably it's funny because the games really don't get good till the fourth quarter, if anything, right? Because the human mind has not accepted that it's 3 to 7 points per score, right? So it's like, oh man, they're up by 10 points. This game is over, and I'm like, no, they're not. Like, no, it's not. They're just one touchdown, and this is a game again. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's just the oddest thing. Yeah, let's just jump into it, man. You know, Kev got a single parent this joint for for a couple weeks. For a week. But also, let me shout out to my neighbor Julio, an essential part of the show. He was trying to drink brews before this. But just to be clear, Julio, Kev moved the schedule up. So that's why we couldn't have brews before.
Oh, I ruined it.
Before the show, pre-show, yeah. Pre-show brews was shut down by Sakota 1. Yo, Kev, man, you ready to get to the other side?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Let's go.
Rap Sucks Radio. Blah, 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 blah.
What up, y'all? You alive on Rap Sucks Radio with your homeboy Track Life and your fam, Kev Sakota.
Otis.
Yo. I'll let you tell the story right after this. If you'd like to catch past episodes of Rap Sucks Radio, you can go to rapsucksradio.com or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. If you'd like to catch us on television, live on your TV, well, not live on TV, but just on your TV, please go to BTSN. That's Behind the Scenes Network. Download the app or channel on your Roku or any of your Amazon Fire devices, and we are right there with plenty of other dope content. BTSN, Behind the Scenes Network. We want in. Catch us on Rap Sucks Radio on Instagram and on Facebook. You can catch us on the original Facebook.com/RSR podcast. We were first with that. Kev, if you guys weren't down for the last episode 150, the Otis reference you might have missed. But I had established that all dragons that ever existed, whether you've seen them, whatever land you've seen them drawn in, are black, and they're all named Otis. And young Sakota contributed a drawing to the cause of a dragon named Otis. Support.
Yeah, maybe we should. Maybe I'll post it.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth the post. You know what I mean?
Technically, the dragon is white, but hey, you know.
Well, it's on white paper, but you know, come on. Africanized is what
it killed a lot of screen time. It was good. It was useful project.
Yeah, man. I'm glad, and it was a project of extreme importance as well.
Of course,
we needed to establish that.
Art for the children, man. You know what I'm about.
This feels like we're like in Old Town Pomona. That seems like a conversation. Art for the children. Live at El Taco Nazo. So, yo, let's get into this, man. Topic, the episode title, The GOAT Out Here Trippin'. I had to bring it back. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are not going to agree with me on this one, Kev. I'm already ready for it. I'm already ready. Like it's going down. So let me just.
I hope so.
Just breathe in and wait for the firing squad. All right. Topic number 1 is Kareem Gotta Chill. Also brought it back for all our old school RSR fans.
That's right.
All right.
Kareem.
So the reason is Kareem, huh?
Kareem. That GOAT. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Correct.
Formerly Lou Alcindor.
The greatest basketball player of all time.
Gotta chill.
Gotta chill.
Right,
in my opinion.
I'm going to go ahead and just let you go.
You going to let me take this one?
On ahead. Yep.
All right, cool. So, not cool, but the source for this is The Hill / Substack. Substack is where Kareem's article exists. The Hill is where I'm going to just read a kind of short explanation of the reason why this is all happening. Players involved are, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Kyrie Irving, maybe Alex Jones. We can just add that in there, right? Excuse me. So, basketball legend Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is criticizing Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving for sharing a conspiracy video from InfoWars hosted by Alex Jones, calling for companies to drop their sponsorship deals with Irving. In a Substack column published Monday, the NBA's all-time leading scorer wrote that it's time to leave Irving to stew in his own gelatinous ignorance, adding that his sharing of the Jones video on social media is destructive, insensitive, and just plain silly. Irving, a 30-year-old basketball player, has caught heat for sharing a 2002 video of Jones, who has been embroiled in lawsuits saying that the 2012 Sandy Hook shooting was a hoax, and explaining New World Order conspiracy theory. But now Irving is back and more. This is quotes. But now Irving is back and more destructive, insensitive, and just plain silly than before. He decided it would be a good idea to post the clip that we just spoke of. This is part of Kareem's article, not rant. So Kareem went on to say, Alex Jones is one of the most despicable human beings alive, and to associate with him means you share his stench. He also wrote that Irving's antics have tarnished the reputations of other athletes who use their platforms in an effort to improve societal standards, urging readers to write to Irving sponsors Pepsi and 2K Sports to drop their deals, noting that the star athlete does not seem to have the capacity to change. The 6-time league MVP called out Irving before, penning a column last year where he criticized him for his refusal to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Irving, who was the main face of vaccine resistance among NBA players last season, recently said that COVID-19 vaccine mandates were one of the biggest violations of human rights in history. A lot of things Irving said I don't agree with. So, Kev, I'm going to bounce past this to you to begin with. And, I mean, you probably are going to disagree with me here as well, which is fine. That wouldn't be the first time. But I can hear you. I'm going to grab some water while you go in for a second. So go ahead. It's on you.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, thanks. I agree with I agree with every single thing that Kareem wrote on this topic. 100%. I hope you're really thirsty.
I'm back. That wasn't that long. It was one sentence.
No, I
you
do
agree with everything.
I do agree. I do agree with. I agree with everything he said. I don't get Kyrie. I just don't understand him.
A lot of people don't.
So, explain him to me.
But you think that his livelihood should be affected by this? And this, we've had this conversation before, actually.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I certainly understand why Kareem would say that. I don't know if it's necessarily where he needed to go. It's like he even says it in the piece. It's like that's, just a piece of his bread. So, I'm not sure. I don't hold Pepsi and 2K Sports up as paragons of virtue anyway, and I don't really even know anything about what they stand for necessarily. I mean,
sure.
Pepsi more so than the that's a video game company, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't particularly care, clearly, but yeah, and I don't know what your position is. So why don't you let me bounce pass it back to you there, buddy? Now that you're
position
hydrated.
Is that every time I begin to record, my daughter walks in here to turn on every light in the house and make sure that all of my video is completely washed out. Can you please go ahead and do what you got to do? And I'm not certain why this is like the exact time every time that you need to do this. As quickly as possible, please. All right. It's like she's plugging stuff in and unplugging stuff. I feel like her mom sends her out here to do it. I feel like it's partly like a family conspiracy, right? Okay, so let me start from the beginning. I don't disagree with, nor do I not understand Kareem's anger. I get it. Like, Alex Jones is a despicable human being, if we would even be able to call him a human being. And on one hand, I think that what's lost is that in a lot of these conversations is that conspiracy theories make a lot of money, right? To spout like kind of like anti the norm is big business, and people tend to like not understand that, right? Like these guys are suffering, holding up cardboard signs on the side of the freeway with no help and no support. It's like, no, dude, these dudes have millions of followers who all are looking for some sort of anti or counter the common opinion knowledge, right? Like, we're not going to talk about it very deeply, but like, you know, just today, right? Kanye and Candace Owens wear the White Lives Matter shirts together, right? So there's no statement there, right? But it's a statement, right? It's like one of those things where, look at me, I'm doing something. It's performance, right? Kyrie with the flat earth thing, with the, I didn't particularly disagree with him about not wanting to be vaccinated. I don't think that was selfish from a basketball perspective. It was his personal right? Like, but it was also the state's responsibility to say, okay, then, you know, we have some protections in place and you can't play basketball. I didn't see a bad side in that story, right? Kareem obviously did. So that's the preface. My problem comes from what I had stated on my social media today, which is I kind of want black people to stop publicly going at other black people. And let me be very clear, because a lot of people are going to listen to this and go, oh, well, what, you know, what I'm asking is inhuman, right? It's absolutely unfair to request this, because what I'm taking away is a person's human right to dislike, publicly or otherwise, someone or something else. And that's not fair of me, right? So I recognize that what I'm asking is ridiculous. But what I don't think people really understand, and you can call it being sensitive or, you know, get over it or whatever. You can call it all of that. But what I don't think people understand is how much people hate black Americans. And I don't know if really anybody's ever genuinely experienced it as much as I have, or experienced the microaggressions and overall aggressions, right, that I've experienced. And I didn't grow up around white people. I think this has been said on this show probably 6 million times in 152 episodes. I need to always establish that I didn't experience this particularly or commonly from white people through media. Ultimately, when I got into the record industry, and as an adult, then, you know, then they galloped back from 8th place and just took over 1st place when I started experiencing life around more white folks. But I don't think people really understand how much these things become like foundations for actions. And this is where I'm going to try to veer off and pass it back, because I'm going to start talking too much if I keep going. But we often say, don't worry about what other people say, right? Don't worry about what other people say. Worry about their actions, right? I think Fizz actually said that in response to my post. But what people don't always understand is that what people say leads to their actions. If you're the HR rep at a company and a black man, a black woman is sitting in front of you, your feelings are your beliefs are entered into whether that black man or black woman is hired, and what type of black person they are will very much establish whether you hire them or not, right? It won't be their qualifications. It will be whether you like this type of black person or not. And we can pretend like how people feel and what they say on social media shouldn't matter or doesn't have an effect. But I'm going to tell you like this, and this is where I'm going to lose a whole other set of people. I watched it happen to a strong subset of rappers in hip-hop, largely due to racism. A strong subset of black DJs, largely due to racism. Now we're going, but the top paying rappers are black, and you know, and there are DJs that are DJing for football teams and stuff, and they're black. What I'm trying to tell you is the baseline, it drops off after the highly successful. There's a huge drop off in establishment of a lot of different, and I'm not saying they don't belong, but a lot of different cultures in here, right? And what you're not understanding is, okay, well, how come black people don't establish those things? Well, I was around when black folks were trying to book clubs, but insurances were higher for us than they were for anyone else that was asking to book that club, right? Largely because of a belief of the type of people we are. Because I've been emceeing since I was 18, younger. And I'm not, if you believe that there wasn't no fights at the parties, I was emceeing that, and there wasn't fights breaking out or shootings at clubs that I DJ'd at, you are sadly mistaken. It happened no matter what the culture was. So what people say and what people believe does have an outside effect. And who am I to ever tell Kareem anything? All that he's done, all that he's accomplished, his intellect. But Kareem might have forgotten the times when he was unaccepted and he was talked down to for unpopular opinions. You know what I'm saying? And now everyone, all these columnists that want to hate basketball players, particularly black basketball players, these were the same columnists that were talking down about Kareem years ago. Right? Mm-hmm. This is the same group, but now they're establishing him as an ally. So that is my stance on it. It's not entirely that I disagree. I think Kyrie, I don't know if I feel like he's dangerous. I feel like he's stupid a lot of times. I feel the same way about Kanye West. I would actually have Candace Owens a little more dangerous in a sense because she has some form of ability to articulate things. You know, it shows up a little bit more intelligent when she speaks. I know you can disagree with her opinions or whatever, but I'm saying she has a quality of intellect that reaches a different type of audience, an audience that has actionable, that can follow their words with action. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, let's just start there. That's my start. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of laid out a lot to unpack there, bruh. Coming in guns hot right at the top of the episode. Well, just to set the table though, I didn't know about any of this. I don't know when he wrote this. When did he write this?
I think it was as recent as yesterday, right? I don't think it was.
Yeah, it was okay. October 2nd. So the context is important because Kyrie was like the prodigy of this takeover. Like he got the half a bar when Kareem started with Ron DeSantis, and he basically, I think, prefaced the whole thing with, this week was a week of wild headlines, and these are my thoughts. So it began with Ron DeSantis. I think he got Tucker Carlson, another stupid thing Tucker Carlson said, and then Kyrie, and I don't know if there was anyone else that he touched on as well. But I don't know if there's a better way that it could have been handled. Has he tried to speak to the young man directly, one-on-one? And not have to say anything to anybody? I don't know. He if you're going to write about it, and you're in the position that he's in, and this is, he wrote it. I didn't write it. He didn't ask me what I thought about what he should write. But sure. If he had asked me, and I might have asked that question and said, well, if you have tried to talk to him, you still feel frustrated about the way he is handled his what you perceive his responsibility to be. One, that's your perception. That might not be his perception. He might think his only responsibility is to go out and be successful on the basketball court, period. Mm-hmm. That's right. But if you feel that strongly about it, then perhaps you should mention that I am writing this after a series of unsuccessful attempts at dealing with this man-to-man, one-on-one. And I still feel like, one, I'm still frustrated, and two, I feel strongly enough about these issues that I think that he is influential enough that it poses a potential danger of inspiring stupid thoughts in people who look up to him for his basketball playing abilities. Now, we made fun of Kyrie when he, from the flat Earth days, he's
Sure.
pretty much ongoing punchline. But I've even said, with the COVID thing, which I thought was one potentially dangerous, because if there's one thing that at the time people were going to look to anyone of some stature to validate, it was like, well, this is not necessary, or this is not okay, or they shouldn't be making us do this. But I think, not too long after that all kind of boiled over, I even said, I think it was when Aaron Rodgers took a similar stance, right? But got real out there with it and very vocal, and then tried to defend, fight the whole crowd about it and stuff. I didn't feel like Kyrie even did a lot of that stuff. He just kind of said, I'm not doing it, and I'll take the L, and I understand what that means for me, and that's how I feel. Whatever. Like, he doesn't seem like a dynamic, energizing, like off court, like someone who's gonna, rile up people to go and find the edge of the earth or whatever. It's like that's not his personality. It doesn't seem like so. Yeah, I'm not sure now. Then to go after his bread, I get it, I guess.
Yeah.
But like I said, you're looking at Pepsi to save the day? It's like, come on, man.
Well, you said something I thought was interesting. You always say things that are interesting, but in the beginning, you mentioned the other people that he spoke about. Now, on this very show, we're also guilty of it, but I haven't seen a single article Kareem win at Tucker Carlson. You see what I'm saying? I'm kind of reestablishing my point here. The basketball player is the most important conversation coming from this, right? They stated on the Hill that he was like the spokesperson for it, but like you said, he didn't speak on behalf of anyone else. He simply said, this is my decision. And he wasn't the only NBA player that made that decision. Bradley Beal didn't. He just happened to not. Bradley Beal was in D.C., and D.C. didn't have the mandates, right? So I don't understand entirely, and we've talked about this before. I don't know what he did wrong. I know that I didn't agree, right? I know that I didn't have an issue with vaccines, but we constantly had this conversation here on this show that I also didn't have an issue with people who didn't want to get a vaccine. I was just like, yo, that's not, now the Alex Jones sharing the sort of counter conspiracy thing, like that's all very silly to me. It's not strongly my opinion, but Kareem was Kyrie Irving when Kareem was that age. We all should know this, right? Kareem was. Now, we look up now, and Kyrie Irving will never hold a candle to what Kareem was standing for. I get that. But I'm talking about the vitriol that was received for having a counter opinion. And what a lot of us don't understand is historically, these counter opinion or these things that are established as so wonderful today started off with quite a few struggles and conversations that had to be had. Some had to be stamped out entirely, and others were able to make it. If we look at, one of the most famous holidays, one of the most frustrating but famous holidays amongst people of color would be Martin Luther King Day, right? If you didn't read anything, you would think Martin Luther King was handed roses from the very beginning. From the very moment he started speaking, Martin Luther King was hated. He was abused. People hated his opinion. It's not to say that Kyrie Irving is a martyr of any, like, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm trying to say is, this isn't that serious. To me, it would have blown by. I think Kareem is the one that made this a thing. Him speaking about it now is like, oh, that's happening over there, right? So yeah, I can't get past, and this is a Trek issue, like very much. I don't have a lot of triggers. I don't particularly care about a lot of people. I really only care about like maybe 12. So I'm not triggered by a lot of things that people do or say. You know what I'm saying? But and often if I don't know you or haven't established a genuine concern, but not genuine concern. I mean, I hope you don't die, but a love for you in a sense as a friend or family member. You may think that your opinions are affecting me because I'm conversing with you, but I genuinely do not care what happens to you or whether you are empowered by your opinion or not. And that's something that you should understand, that if I'm responding to you, I'm simply entertaining myself. So I don't have a lot of triggers is what I'm trying to say. But this is very triggering for me because I just feel like I don't believe this. I'm sure that a lot of people don't accept and believe this. But the worst thing you could possibly be in America is black. To most Americans, right? The worst man a non-black woman can bring home is a black man. Period. There's an absolute disgust and fear in with regard to that. With regard to that, we talk about these issues without genuinely discussing how people feel about other people. We talk about various issues beyond black, beyond just or not just Black America, right? We talk about a lot of different issues that where bigotry and racism and discrimination come about. But what we don't recognize is that 1,000,000 or 2,000,000 people or 10,000 people that spoke up on Twitter about an Asian actress in a Star Wars movie, some of them have actionable, abilities. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be can't hire or won't subsidize. Sometimes it's won't vote for, will completely take the opposite road when needed, right? I can go through several stories, not just my childhood, but where, people of young people color, they're my age now, would tell you, like when they were younger, how they were ostracized by adults. You know what I'm saying? I just ask that we don't feed it, but I do know what I'm asking is so it's ridiculous for me to ask it.
Well, it's anyone who says they don't understand what you're getting at is being ridiculous. It is, I think, difficult. And I'm not saying that claiming to speak from the perspective. I think there's an age component as well, so I was going to say I wouldn't claim to speak about it as a young black man, old black man, any black man, obviously, from that perspective. But from the perspective I do have, that I think that is a high bar to clear.
It absolutely is.
It goes actually to what we've discussed many times on this program. The idea of having to walk out of the house and be better at everything to not get shot by the police, to be better at everything, to get the job that you are more qualified for than the person who looks more like the rest of the people who work there, et cetera, right? Unfortunately, that also carries through to how people, whether it's an older Asian person giving a younger Asian person advice, or an older black man giving an older legendary basketball player giving a younger legendary basketball player advice, how it's done, how it's delivered, the words that are used, not how it will be perceived by that one person, but by how the world will perceive it. You brought up Candace Owens. Candace Owens is not noted and quoted by a large contingent of your average African American constituent in this country, although it happens. I hear about Candace Owens from white folks. I see her quoted by white folks or by conservative people, on a very, to put it bluntly and indelicately, on a she's one of the good ones kind of a tip.
Exactly.
See? She gets it. She gets it. It's like, no, she doesn't. She gets your money. She gets your clicks. She gets your likes. She gets your attention. Perhaps that attention was not given by those who she really wanted it from, and that's what has turned her into the thing that she has become. But she does not get it. And again, that's why I don't know enough about Kyrie to know if he falls into, like, I just don't think of him as an attention whore in that way any more than, if anything, if there's a scale of attention whores in the NBA, I would assume he's on the low end of of that scale.
I wouldn't say he's on the low end, but I'd say that Kyrie Irving. You have 2 or 3 of him on your Facebook.
Well, that's the thing, but we don't pay attention. That's the thing. So you don't, it's like you're crazy. You're nutty. But again, the righteousness of what Kareem's saying, you can't separate that from the delivery mechanism, the way the message is being given, and then an assumption or a strategic sort of 2 moves down the board understanding of how that's going to be perceived, which is not fair. Not fair to either of them, really.
Not really.
But it doesn't make it wrong. It doesn't make his opinion wrong. It doesn't make Kyrie right necessarily for any of the things that you disagree with. I mean, the earth is not flat.
No.
Okay?
Alex Jones is absolutely wrong.
So out of all the things that he mentioned, the COVID thing was the one thing that I could almost give him a pass on. Like, to your point, it's like, all right, well, no one really knew what was going on. It's, like, I didn't know. I was happy to go out and get the vaccination, but I wasn't out there saying, this is why. I don't know why. I listened to people who knew why. And I believe them.
Yeah.
And I'm still here. But so is he.
Right.
Okay, so and then also my thing was like, quietly, again, not in mixed company, hey, if I had millions and millions of dollars on, or hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line every time I couldn't play because of the regulations, right? I would feel an incredible amount of pressure to go against, assuming that was his true belief, which it clearly was. I would feel an incredible amount of pressure to just fold and say, yeah, just give me the shot, whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so, not that I think that that's something that I would be proud of, but it's like, I get it,
Yeah.
I can sort of try to identify with something that I will never have to identify with.
Absolutely. Listen, the COVID-19 vaccine was the lowest form of my concern for activism on either side.
But what I was getting to was that with the Alex Jones thing, it's like when you hear young, I don't know if I hear it from people of color. I think it's just there's more shock value, so the news will cover it more probably when it's a white person. It's probably mostly white folks who will look back on, Candace Owens, I think, did it, actually, and say something complimentary about Hitler.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's generally taken slightly out of context, but there is not a good context for that, whatever the statement was. There's never going to be a good context to say
Erica
something
Badu
like complimentary, right? Oh, yeah, Erica.
Yeah.
Sure. Right?
Yeah.
So, Alex Jones is equally evil.
Absolutely.
And he's also making vast sums of money being evil in the current day and age, in an age where we ought to know better as human beings. So I think that's pretty silly to quote tweet or whatever, retweet anything the guy says. Anything he does,
Sure.
even if it's for a laugh, I don't care. He's an awful person, right?
Yep.
But yeah, that's why, I think, yeah, if it would be, I would feel maybe better if it was not, this is Kareem with the weekly news rundown, but rather I'm going to devote one essay to my last 2 years of trying to have intimate, personal, man-to-man conversations with someone who has told me that I am a hero to them. I don't know if Kyrie ever would say that, or but who wouldn't, right? And I haven't been able to get through. And so, as much as I'm writing this about this man, I am speaking to other people in his position in life. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't play professional basketball, but who are young black men. Maybe that would have been a different thing, I think. And then I wouldn't agree with you at all.
Well,
but what he didn't do, because you didn't even tell me I didn't know anything about it. All you told me was the Kareem thing, and the first thing I thought is, please don't say that he did some Bill Cosby shit.
Oh my God,
he
no,
did not.
No. Thank goodness.
That's the thing, right?
Thank goodness, yeah.
And we will and people will simplify it down to that same dynamic, and that's also a mistake, right?
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a mistake. It would be a mistake. Like when Cosby did, and I'm not talking about, this is with the saggy pants and all that, whatever stupid stuff that he said.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it was just like, dude, you're out there raping ladies, and you want to talk about the way somebody's wearing their pants? It's like, I might even agree with you, depending on the extremity of the sag, but no, get out of here.
Here's the funny thing about that. We're delving into this. This is almost like a therapy session for me. Like, I remember that.
All right.
I genuinely remember that, and I remember how I felt. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I'm so careful about what I'm asking now, or not what I'm asking, but what I'm suggesting now. You know what I mean? I remember the inability to be human that Cosby took. Like, I remember Bill Cosby taking that inability to be young, right? And he was taking it under the exact excellent premise that you brought up of, like, we have to be better. His fear of the overall availability of success for Black Americans was in every word that he said. And now that I'm older, I am less upset with him than I am understanding about how afraid the elders are when they speak like this, right? Like, bro, we don't have a lot of shots, man. You got to get this right. I get it. I totally get it. But in the same, and I'm in this category, folks. Like, this is something that I've been in the mirror a lot about today, because I'm not normally in this place where I'm like, we got to stop doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never say that. Like, I'm just like, yo, we get to be people, man. And sometimes people do things that, I don't like that, right? It's we often talk about on this show how I'm not going to call Candace Owens a bitch or something crazy. Like, why would I need to disrespect her I'm going to disagree with her. I'm going to say what she said is stupid or silly, but I'm not going to out and out just angrily or with extreme prejudice talk about her, right? What makes that, if I'm capable of that, what makes me any different? And I feel like that was Bill Cosby's statement for me at the time. Like, yo, what is the need to disrespect for? You know what I mean? This is where I'm at with Kareem and how he wrote this as well. Like, okay, yo, Kyrie's not the same as Alex Jones because he's not. He's not in this. He doesn't share.
Right.
He's not the same, right? Let's just stop right there. Okay, that's the end of the story. Now, I'm saying this also on the heels of just I was just randomly listening to the radio yesterday, and This was before the Kareem thing had come out, or maybe it was after, and I just didn't know about it. But this guy was just going in on Kyrie Irving. It was a sports show, right? And the way that he was speaking, like, yo, I remember that. I just kept saying, yo, I remember this dude when I was in high school. I remember this guy, the non-black guy that was sitting in front of the other black folks, and he had this opinion about a black person that was an outsider to that black guy, right? And then he got another guy that wasn't black that was kind of cool, and he was kind of hip, and he had a fade. And he also got to chime in, and the black folks kind of laughed because, yo, we don't like, Bruce either. Ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, no, nah, you don't get to talk about Bruce like that. That's wrong. You can talk about Bruce however you want. Bruce is a human being. You're a human being. But it's so it's triggering. It's very, very triggering. It's difficult. Because it's difficult for me.
Well, yeah, it's that constant knowledge that the specter of expected perfection looms over every move you make in a way that is outsized compared to non-Black people, non-Asian people, non-Latino people, when you were speaking about each other in mixed company. I'm not, I think it affects it affects all people in different ways, but when you specifically physically look different, I think it can impact, any minority community will go through that, It's funny because I might have been this morning, was listening to Al Sharpton was on some show, right? And he's getting up there now, you know what I'm saying? And was talking about, and I can't even, I know what the context was, but I don't want to bring it up because it involves an idiot. But he brought up and acknowledged that in his younger years, he would in his public activism, use the N-word, toward other people he was with, whether it be in a joking manner or in a, maybe, I don't know if he even meant like in a derisive sort of, maybe lecturing or preaching kind of manner in the streets. And then also use derogatory terms toward white folks, the unequivalent derogatory terms that some folks might have chosen to use about the white community, who was oppressing the black community specifically. Mm-hmm. And then he sort of related this anecdote of Coretta Scott King sitting him down and saying, if you do that, it sort of negates. I'm paraphrasing. I apologize. Don't remember exactly what he said. It was just this morning, but it negates what you're saying if you're using the same language that they use to hate us, basically, right? Mm-hmm. That was, I think, the intent I took from it. So yeah, that specter of expected perfection over everything, right? And right. My thing is not a racial thing. It is not an age thing. It's just a human thing. As I get older, I realize that I still get just as angry as I would have when I was 20 years old. And I want to think that I've mellowed out, but I still get just as angry as I did when I was 20 over some things. I think those things come fewer and far between. I know better how to stay away from people that I suspect may trigger those feelings. But what I have gained is the realization that if I'm going to get angry at somebody, that's a commitment. That's an investment on my part.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm going to try and then I think the step beyond that, which is the productive step, is trying to teach or maybe teach a lesson or express an opinion that you think might sway someone else's opinion. If you're going to do that and you don't do your best to make sure that the audience that you're, one, know who the audience is, and two, do your best to sway that audience. So if I see somebody acting like a jerk at the supermarket, I can ignore it. Or if there's no way to ignore it, I have to try to deal with it in a way that they're actually going to understand what it is that I have a beef with. We're not going to get in a fight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And if I can't do that, I'm the one who feels not proud of myself. You know what I'm
Agreed.
saying? It's like,
Yeah.
I'm the one who has to carry that.
Yeah.
I know I don't deserve it. I know that I didn't really have anything to do with it because that guy was acting like a jerk. But I'm the one who has to carry with myself for the rest. And I have to worry about, and now I'm older, so I'm thinking about, that guy doesn't even care. That guy walked away and it's not even bothering him. Or worse yet, I hope he's just as mad as I am right now. It's like, no, what did that do? That didn't do anything for anybody. You didn't teach nobody anything. And so I guess part of what I was wondering is if there is a large contingent, and I don't know if we would ever know this because we're old, is 20, 30-something, especially basketball fans who are really caping for Kyrie.
No.
I
I would say the answer is no. No, I think that this isn't a great topic for Rap Sucks Radio. But I think that there's a lot of effort to create enemies in sports, right? Like a bad guy is very important. Kobe Bryant was one, and in some cases for obvious reasons, right? Like for if there was a belief that things transpired in Colorado, then and I can understand. I just don't think that most people I've ever come across have felt a way as deeply about that as they did about how he was perceived, right? I told a joke to a friend of mine today how people, this is again not a great topic for Rap Sucks Radio, but people would like, I hate selfish basketball players, and then you'd be like, man, Allen, and they'd be like, man, Allen Iverson was great. I'm like, dude, Allen Iverson completely shot like and he shot the ball. Like, it's, you know what I'm saying? So you're literally just selecting personalities at this point, which means that I don't believe that there are a lot of people that are on Kyrie's side, because the personality has been established as one that should be disliked and hated, and there's been a lot of effort into making sure that there isn't a lot of room to come back from it, right? A lot of people, man, I don't know. Again, I'm not highly agreed with in this stance. I had someone say today, and this is no disrespect, man, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, that like, holding people accountable is important. I'm like, well, I mean, to what? And in front of whom? You know what I'm saying? Like, holding them accountable to what? This is a grown adult male with his own personal beliefs. If we're, you understand what I'm saying? This isn't about, maybe Kareem's is, maybe it's not. But most times, man, it's not about holding the person. It's a performance for you. You know what I'm saying?
And
it's a performance. Like it's almost never truly genuine. It's performance, and it's at the luxury of. It's at the endangerment of each other. Listen, I'm an MC. I'm an MC that listen to all of that. I'm an MC that listen to all the disparaging music about black women and women. I'm an MC that has said things that are disparaging about other people, other black people. I'm not blameless in this, and I'm one of those
terrible
40 plus. Well, yeah, that's some things you can't take back, right? Area, but I have the luxury of growing old and recognizing my mistakes, right? And being this person in view of others that is grown and right? Like, oh man, look at Trek. He's but no, man, I was equally as idiotic and probably in this conversation and tomorrow morning, or if we go off, I'm going to say something completely idiotic. I'm going to say something stupid. You know what I'm saying? It's going to happen. You know what I mean? And and someone's going to hopefully point it out to me, and I'm going to look back and go, yo, that was stupid. You know what I'm saying? which is where I'm giving my kind of last, like, listen, we had a topic. I wanted to kind of switch the show up. We're not going to do it right now because we only have a couple minutes on it. But I wanted to switch the show up a little bit away from articles and discuss a topic which I want to discuss next week, which is we would be considered Gen Xers, I guess. I don't know.
I would. I don't know about you. I think you're a millennial.
Maybe.
See, I'm giving you some rope here.
My thank you. My wife and I were talking about, you know, how Gen Xers are allegedly the useless generation. Like, we didn't do anything, but we're talking about all the stuff we did do, right? All the things we did establish that made it easier for Gen Xers to be who they are. Or, I'm sorry, for millennials to be who they are, right? If you think of just what hip hop did alone, and triggering reaction and thought and counter thought and challenge, that in the palatable way did everything for where millennials are now. Everything. You know what I'm saying? But there's also some things we left on the table. Yeah, there's a lot we left in. We can talk about it next week. And the reason why I'm bringing that up right now, though, is because I'm looking at myself. I'm growing older. I'm watching the great established. I'm looking at Kareem, who's much older, much more accomplished, just a greater overall human being on paper than I am by far. And I'm saying, hey, yo, Kareem, man, like, you might be right on this one, but maybe not like this. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
maybe this is
yeah.
You know, this isn't the space.
No, I think that's absolutely fair, because I think that's the one thing, probably the only thing I would encourage everybody our age to really start focusing in on considering is, remember when you were not offered the kind of grace that you thought you deserved just as a human being.
Yeah.
That you saw being given to, you know, the kid down the street named Brett Favre just because he looked different from you, so that he could one day go on and steal millions of dollars from a welfare program in Mississippi. And not have anyone say anything about it.
No repercussions.
Consider how that made you feel when you realized that you were not born with that grace being given to you automatically as a first step in the conversation, but rather the instant reaction of, well, this is how you're fucking up. This is why. This is, you know, and if you sense yourself falling into that same cycle, that same trap, then, you know, maybe you got to dig a little deeper and figure out the way to reach your audience. It can be an audience of one. It doesn't have to be a big grand statement. It's like, you know, there are plenty of times that, like I mentioned it last week, saying something to my daughter and just being like, oh, you idiot.
Yeah, the way that it was said and yeah, it's I mean, I seem like subdued and all in deep, but this affects me highly, and it doesn't have to affect anyone else in any particular way. You guys all have your own triggers. This just happens to be probably one of the highest on my list, and it's not about caring what other people say. I understand where people are coming from, but it's not about that. You know what I'm saying? It's about knowing how this plays out, and how when you're standing in a place next to another person looking for the same opportunity, how these perceptions actually reduce those opportunities, which we just don't think about the day-to-day result. But it is completely inhuman for me to ask, and I know that, and it's Reg versus Reg at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, you know, you can't. I mean, it's dead. I'm dead horse that part of it, but yeah. In the end, we've done quite a bit on Kareem, a second on Kyrie. Like you also may want to concern yourself with what you're speaking on and who you're using to voice your message. If I was to write that article, that would be the way that I worded it. You know what I'm saying? Protective of how people will use my words to destroy him as a human being and as an individual, but also concerned with the message that he's sending. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to jump on in the same way that I won't call Candace Owens out of her name, in the same way that I won't go any further than calling Kanye West stupid or dumb or calling what he's doing dumb, in the same way that I'll say Nelly is whack, but I won't say Nelly is, anything near a bad person or horrible this or that. You know what I'm saying? If you've been in, I don't know, maybe you haven't been in my shoes. Maybe you ignored it. Maybe you were one of the black kids that Bruce was performing for at high school, and you were like, "Yay, all right, whatever, right?" Like you were cool. Like you were giving out quote unquote passes and taking away quote unquote passes, because that is the most Afrocentric thing that you can do is hand a non-black person a black pass, right? Like whatever goofy thing that you were into. I just don't think that you don't realize, and I'm going to end it on this note. I was talking to I called my sister about this. And my sister told a story. I won't say the names because it's a friend of ours that went through this. But a young sister, at the time, in a high school where she was one of 5 black students, and the brother the white kids or non-black kids were saying, "Hey, why don't you take her to the prom?" Right? And the brother went in on how ugly and dark she was, right? What that brother didn't realize is that those people didn't respect you in the end. You might have think you gained, or the beginning, and you might have thought, or you might believe that you gained favor there, right? You might think that you established yourself as a higher power, or you might think that it did or meant nothing, right? But my past I'll give you is you were a child. You were in high school. You didn't know any better. But it did have an effect, just not on the people you thought it would, right? Like, you weren't respected at the end of that. You were ugly as well. And now that some of them are so enlightened, guess who they think is unenlightened? You. You're the unenlightened one. You're the one that will now, in Kareem's case, there are going to be constant conversations where people are edgily talking about how Kareem doesn't want to allow freedom of speech and thought now, and look at how far he's gone back. You see what I'm saying? All of this is going to be used to undermine you because, and I don't care how you feel about me saying this. I don't care how you feel about the emotion behind this. I do not care. People hate us, period. It doesn't matter if they hate us. I don't care how you feel about it. It does. We got to be amongst people. There is no bubble that we can all go to. We're not jumping into Kanye's spaceship. We not. We got to be around these folks. And opportunities that I can tell you, if you want to sit down with me and have a brew, I can tell you directly who and where those opportunities were either cut short. Kev can tell you. Kev was part of the higher points of my career. Kev can tell you opportunities that were oddly missing for odd reasons. You know what I'm saying? This is all, to me, the foundation of that reasoning is perception, character perception, the belief that, right? Like, it's not just us, but what I'm trying to tell you is, damn, man, it just feels, it sucks to have to be so careful, right? It's inhuman. It's whack, but it just is what it is, man. Like that's where we are. And I'm wrong, by the way. I'm wrong for even asking it. Like I'm absolutely wrong, man. Like I'm really wrong in this. And that's it's. I don't have. I understand that many of you will be like, yo, you're just wrong, and I'll be like, yo, I am wrong. You know what I'm saying? I'm as wrong as Bill Cosby was when he talked about sagging your pants, but because I understand now where he was coming from. Not that I agree with anything he said. I thought everything he said was foolish, but I know the fear now. I understand the fear. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that makes me right. I'm not saying that makes me righteous or above or even worthy of I don't know the word I'm trying to think of, but worthy of acceptance or you know, not being talked back to, like not being responded to, right? It's like the world's loudest truck backing up. But but can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's like it's right in my house, right? Okay, anyway, let me just end this. I'm not saying that I deserve your empathy because I'm affected. I'm just telling you that the shit is dangerous. That's all I'm saying.
I
you know what I'm saying?
Agree with that. Yeah, I mean, and thinking back, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, I mean, because like I said, I didn't even know any of this was going on. Relatively new altogether, and we'll see how it develops, I guess. Because sometimes people just forget about, you know.
Oh, they're gonna forget about
stuff
this.
quickly,
This is
right?
another. This is a notch in the belt. Yeah, this is.
But to my recollection, Kareem is also the same man who came to LeBron's defense when he was being told to shut up and dribble, right? So
Right, but then turned right around and criticized him. So Kareem is not. No, like Kareem is not Kareem is a fair. He's as human as it gets. He's fair, right? He speaks his mind and he speaks what he believes. He should do that. That's what a human being should have the space to do. And the more that we have this conversation, the more I fall back on, like, yeah, man, like I'm just asking us to not be human, and maybe I'll come back next week and have a different point of view. But for now, I was just like,
we're gonna talk a lot of trash about millennials next week, though.
I'm ready. I got millennials back. I got y'all back. So anyway, Kev, yo, as always, appreciate the conversation, Kev. We are Rap Sucks Radio. We were RSR Podcast before anybody else was, by the way. And you can catch us on rapsucksradio.com or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. You can catch us on Rap Sucks Radio on Instagram. I believe, are we getting a picture of Otis the Dragon?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually,
That
I have to
will be-
ask the artist.
Yeah.
You
You
Can
got
we
to.
post the picture of Otis the Dragon? Oh, she said, I guess. Sometimes she's very protective. So this is big. This is big news.
All right, so we have an I guess, but we want to establish their copyright and copyright laws that we want to make sure that we
100%.
don't cross.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, thank y'all for listening, man. My name is Trek Life. I'm your homeboy Trek Life. That over there, right there, that's your fam, Kev Dakota.
That's right.
We appreciate each and every one of y'all. I'm used to something far more clever. We'll catch y'all next time with a count of three. We say peace. 1, 2, 3. Peace. We out, y'all.